everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for the candidate forum for the River Forest Village Trustees, brought to you by the River Forest Library and the League of Women Voters of Oak Park and River Forest. We'd like to thank the League for putting this on with us today. So I turn it over to you, Peggy.
Yes, thank you. Welcome to the River Forest Village Trustee Candidate Forum. There are 4 candidates for 3 open seats. My name is Peggy Kell, and I'm the Voter Service Chair for the League of Women Voters of Oak Park and River Forest. The League is a nonpartisan organization that does not endorse candidates, but our mission is to register, educate voters on local, state, and national issues so they can make more informed decisions. Early voting starts March 10th at the local courthouses and March 22nd at the Oak Park Village Hall. Election day is April 6th. Our final River Forest forum will be on March 18th for the library and park board races. You can still register for that on the River Forest Library website. Many thanks again to Megan O'Keefe and the River Forest Library for her technical expertise and her time in helping us partner together. And Leslie Lauderdale, one of our members, will be the timer today. Just going to go over the ground rules briefly. This forum is being recorded. It will probably be posted on the River Forest Library website in just a few days. So if you'll be sent the link by the River Forest Library too, so you can share it with people if you'd like. Candidates will be given 1-minute opening and closing statements. After opening statements, the same questions will be asked of each candidate with 1 minute to answer. The order of speaking will alternate and statements and questions will be timed. I, as moderator, will read the questions that are submitted in advance, and also you can still submit a question via chat. As moderator, I'm going to make sure questions are appropriate and avoid duplication. Candidates, do you have any last-minute questions, or are you ready?
Ready.
Ready.
All right. For opening statement, Johan, you're going to start off first, please.
League of Women Voters, thank you for the privilege of introducing myself as a candidate for the River Forest Village Trustee and openings. My name is Johan Bass, a longtime resident of River Forest with 23 years of community advocacy. I am drawn to working in service of the greater community. As a naturalized US citizen, I am privileged to serve the River Forest community based on 3 guiding principles: vision, integrity, advocacy. I'm a current commissioner on the River Forest Traffic and Safety Commission. I'm a former member of the 2008 Flood Task Force. I'm a D90 Diversity Committee member, and I'm a former Condo Association president. My 3 key concerns are as follows. Climate change demands that we commit to long-range disaster prevention planning. That includes flooding and hazardous materials, freight train containment possibilities. Number 2, I promote constructive community engagement and representation. Always seek the common good for River Forest. I'm a bridge builder across opposing viewpoints, not simply a bridge on one side or the other, but both sides. And third, River Forest needs a makeover. Elevate village beautification and imaginative public art, promote the arts and sports, as well as tourism and other possibilities.
Thank you. Lisa?
Hello, my name is Lisa Gillis, and I'm asking for your vote for Village Trustee. I am a member. I've lived here for 20 years, over 20 years. I raised my 3 children here. I have 2 24-year-olds who went to Willard, Roosevelt, and PRF. And then my daughter's 23. She went to Willard, Roosevelt, and Trinity. I'm an advertising professional with over 30 years experience. Throughout my career, I have consistently focused on collaborating across diverse groups, building teams, creating new competencies, and driving effectiveness and efficiency in operations in support of corporate objectives and strategies. I have witnessed much change in the advertising industry throughout my tenure. It has made me very comfortable with change, and the need to continuously evolve ourselves and our teams to remain relevant and strong. I'm a team player, a hard worker, I have a keen ability to listen. Listening helps me make better decisions. I listen to diverse points of view and change my thinking with all the thinking, all the things that I hear. The more informed I can be, the better decision I can make. With the skill sets I've garnered over the years, I've successfully given back. I am chairman of the Sustainability Commission. I am a longtime member of the Oak Park River Forest Infant Welfare Society, including 3 years on their board of directors in charge of marketing. And I'm an adjunct professor at Dominican, focusing on preparing first-generation college students to find gainful employment after graduation. As trustee, I plan to use my skills and passion to continuously improve the quality of life for the village.
Thank you. Ken?
Hello and welcome. Once again, my name is Ken Johnson. I am a few things: a father of 2 beautiful daughters, a loving husband, at least I like to think I am, a cancer survivor, a diehard Michigan Wolverine, a lawyer and a small business owner, and most of all, a dedicated River Forest resident. I've lived in River Forest for the last 15 years, and during that time, I've built 2 houses in the community, so I'm well aware of issues with regard to municipalities. With regard to my business, I started a law firm. I've been practicing for over 20 years. I started a law firm in 2003, and we focus primarily on energy regulatory law with a focus on sustainability, real estate, and banking litigation and immigration law. My practice has grown from just Illinois to now we operate out of 6 states. What do I plan if I'm elected? I've also, with regard to my community involvement, I've served on District 9212 board, school board caucus. I've served for 10 years on the River Forest Youth Soccer League, as well as I've coached for about 10 years. Lastly, my plan is to provide 3 things: transparency, inclusivity of thought and diversity of thought, and lastly, to produce results. I know you can't produce results all the time, but I do plan to help bring about resolutions. So with that, I humbly ask for your support.
Thank you. Rez?
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for offering this opportunity, this forum, and it's great to be here. Just on a personal background, my wife Annie and I have moved to River Forest in 2014, and we love living in this community. It's a great community. Regarding my professional background, I'm an educational attorney. I've been working as an in-house attorney from pre-K public institutions all the way to state universities. I also worked as a private partner in a private law firm that serves public educational entities. So I have the viewpoint of both the private and public sector. But most recently, as it relates to River Forest, been a village trustee on first term. I'm running for my second term. I also chair the Age-Friendly Ad Hoc Committee. I also serve as an inclusive advisory board member for District D90. I also have been participating in their spelling bee as a pronouncer and a judge. I also worked in the Imagine group for the Oak Park River Forest High School 200. And I want to, and hope that you will support me. I want to continue working for our residents to feel safe and enjoy living in River Forest. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, candidates, remember, 1 minute or very close to that. The first question, Lisa, you're going to start with the first question, please.
Okay.
Concerns have been expressed about the process for appointing volunteer citizens to village boards and commissions. What do you see as the current vulnerabilities of the process, and what would you do to improve the process?
Okay. First, let me speak to my experience with the process. I'm chair of the River Forest Sustainability Commission. I've been on the commission 2 years ago. I asked to be on that commission probably when it started in 2017. There were a lot of people that wanted to be on it. So Kathy called me and told me I wasn't going to be on it. And I was fine with that because she had a multitude of people to choose from. 2 years later, she called me to be on it. I was surprised, having lived here for as long as I have, of the people. I did not know most of the folks that were on the committee other than Julie Moeller, who was the current chair. There is somebody on that committee who's a metrics expert. There's somebody on that committee who's a solar expert. There's someone on that committee who is very much involved in green ecosystems. So I do think it's a balanced committee, but like anything, continuous improvement is a good thing. And I think we should always be looking for how we can do better to ensure that we are tapping into the expertise that all of our residents have.
Thank you. Ken?
I would say with regard to the vulnerability, this issue has recently arisen and has been addressed by Kathy. I think that one of the things that we can continue to do is just ensure that we are allowing for not just the transparency, which I think is going good right now, but we also need to make sure that our residents understand the process so that when we do decide that we want to incorporate a lot of diverse thought, we need to make sure the residents know when we are seeking that and communicate that to the residents. So if anything, I don't think there's a vulnerability because I believe it's there. I think we can work harder to ensure that we set the methodology, let our residents know about the methodology by which we're going to govern whatever rule or issue we're doing, and then ensure that all diversities or diverse thoughts come to the table and are able to speak their mind and get their views across. And as a trustee is our goal, and we must make sure that we are a liaison between the two.
Thank you. Rez?
As my policy and practice has been, I've been open on any issues that has come before the village. On this specific issue, though, I would like to pursue getting more of an education for people to understand what the current process is. I always think that's very important before you change anything. And in addition to that, though, I do welcome, and the village will be opening up this discussion between residents and with the village staff to try to see what it is that people really want in terms of more access to the boards and commissions. And then the village board can decide after hearing from everybody what it is that we can make it better for everybody and our residents. Remember, all of our boards, commissions, I appreciate it's volunteer, just like trustees and the village president. So we're all there to try to do good for everybody. Let's just try to see if we can work together to get to that point. So thank you.
Thank you. Johan?
As a member of the Traffic and Safety Commission, this is a matter of great interest and importance to me. The process has been until now rather opaque. And so I think it's essential that we establish policies and procedures, that we literally have as our guiding point participation by every resident that is willing to serve. For that, we must look for equity in the process. And so that if we know what the terms of appointment are, how they are appointed, and for how long, and under what conditions can they be reappointed, these are the questions that are not clear. I, for example, had to wait 8 years for appointment after I had submitted my name. That in itself begs so many other questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken, you're going to start this next question first.
Mm-hmm.
What economic development opportunities do you envision for River Forest in the next 1 to 4 years?
I would say, I'm going to mention our favorite word, TIF. And I would say, I think we need to take advantage of what the TIF has to offer. So I know that at times that's, sometimes considered a negative word, but I think it's more of an understanding of what it is. A lot of people don't understand, but the River Forest Town Center was done on a TIF or partially done on a TIF. I think that what we need to do is encourage our residents to let us know what they'd like to see in the with regard to economic development, and then we need to, as a board, seek out those businesses. But we need to also make sure that those same businesses produce enough revenue so that it can help with our property taxes, for instance. So I think one hand can help the other, but I would like to see new businesses that bring in a good amount of tax generation, so that would assist us on one of our greatest needs in River Forest, which is our unfortunately growing property taxes.
Thank you. Rez?
Peggy, can I trouble you to repeat the question? Thank you.
What economic development opportunities do you envision for River Forest in the next 1 to 4 years?
Thank you. Well, as you probably already know, I was in great support of the Sheridan, which is the assisted living facility that's in Chicago and Harlem. And being the chair of the age-friendly committee, that was something that I found to be very important, not only to our seniors, but to our village as well. And that brought in about 700,000 a year in terms of revenue. But I do think there's other opportunities for that. And for example, right now, I know I've heard Lake and Lathrop. It's currently pending. I would like to move and continue and get closure on that property. But in terms of new events, I think Madison Street and North Avenue have the great opportunity to move forward. I'd like to see more of retail, combination of retail and other mixed uses of those properties. And in working with the Economic Development Commission, that's going to be helping us and develop those strategies and make recommendations to the board, which I am most welcome and supportive of. Thanks.
Thank you. Johan?
I believe that locally owned businesses must be at the heart of this forward-looking development. We must be proactive and invite the prospective businesses come and complement the current locally owned businesses. We've got to establish that through our local Chamber of Commerce, and as a board, we need to encourage prospective business owners to consider complementing the current ones. I also think we need to think in terms of long-range planning tools for the village: arts, sports, and tourism. Let me explain on this last point. Do you know that there are unused spaces in the summers that are little used spaces that beg the question, why are they not part and parcel of a vibrant economic resurgence? I just mentioned the theater stage on the corner of Lake and Harlem, for example.
Thank you. Lisa?
I believe that business development opportunities for the next 4 years really will be, as Ken said, it'll be along the TIF district. So you have Madison, we have Lake, we have North Avenue. We really do need to keep our residential property taxes low. The way to do that is to generate revenue other ways, through sales tax, through business property taxes. The way to do that is to really try to figure out a way to do mixed use in those, along those corridors, with retail on the bottom, small business, some combination of small business, maybe, kind of some bigger businesses, as well as then residents on top. I think it's really the only way that we're going to be able to ensure that we can allow for new families to come in and keep aging people in our village when they might actually not be able to be here because of the rising tax rate. Or that I should say the tax, like how many taxes we pay. It's not a tax rate issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Rez, you're going to start this next question.
Okay.
The village board will be responsible for selection of a new village manager with the announced departure of the current manager. What traits will you prioritize in your candidate search and selection process?
Okay. I think the trait that I would be focusing on for our village administrator would be having experience in dealing with government operations, government finances. It would also be great if this individual could also appreciate the business side of it, because in the years that I've been working in government, one thing that I kept hearing from the private sector was we weren't really coordinating and working as a partnership with our businesses and our communities to be able to make a great, successful community. Good. I want someone with good people skills too, someone who can actually work great with our employees, motivate them, inspire them, as well as working with our residents and listening to issues, trying to resolve those issues the best they can. Someone who has a great business aptitude regarding economic development, because obviously that's going to be a need that we're going to be focusing on in River Forest. And then very, very fiscally oriented in terms of our management of our budget. As you well know, that this past year we were able to hold flat our tax levy, and that's only because of the great financial stewardship of our village staff and our board. Thank you.
Thank you. Johan?
I have worked with three former managers, and I must admit that they are the linchpin around which the entire administration revolves, because they have to be so many things to so many people. They have to have very good people skills and always look for the common good of the village, never being self-interested. Second, you must have the business acumen that can make sound judgments, judgments for the immediate term and judgments for the long term. Talking of long term, I want us to think about infrastructure, and particularly the flooding questions that might have to solicit state, federal funding for capital investments of that nature. These are the kinds of possibilities for fiscal responsibility with a good administrator.
Thank you. Lisa?
I'll start with, I think Eric Palm is a tough act to follow. I think he did a really great job running the village. He was fiscally responsible. He had, some great experience. He ran a team of, his team is 72 different staff across Village Hall, Police, Fire, and Public Works. And I personally have worked with many of them as, on the Sustainability Commission. And I think that they wear a lot of different hats, and they are very, they do the work of more than that. So we need to really work hard when we're looking at a new village administrator for somebody that can maintain stability amongst those ranks, because salary and pension are a big cost to our village. That's our biggest line item. So I'd hate to kind of truly, I think that's one of the key considerations that we'd have to think of. How do we kind of maintain that stability? We should strongly consider Lisa, but she's now in a test drive, and we'll see how that goes. Plus, because I think she was trained by Eric, and she understands the team and how to get the best out of them. When we're looking at other candidates, and we certainly should, I think we have to look for someone who's positive and collaborative, has all the traits that Rez has mentioned, and Han has already mentioned. Importantly, I'd like to have somebody that would have experience in understanding or maybe running a village of our size, to make sure that they can help address some of the issues and opportunity and take advantage of some of the opportunities that we uniquely have. Sorry for running over.
Thank you. Ken?
Okay, so now I learned the issue with going last. So it's hard to come up with new things, but I'll give it a shot. So let me first say that I am on board with definitely having someone that's fiscally responsible, has an understanding of what we are as a community and where we're going. Also, for me, it will be important to ensure that we have someone that understands the diversity of the community. And I don't just mean racial diversity, I mean economic diversity, I mean age diversity, as well as gender diversity. Also, I do believe, though, that the staff works very well. And I think it's a well-run machine. And so I don't think we need a major changer, but we need someone that's more innovative, that thinks towards the future. So I think if you put that on an already strong staff, you may be able to progress further than you thought you would. So I would ask someone that would be innovative with regard to other major issues, with regard to sustainability, with regards to our age in place issues, with regard to our environmental barriers, someone that understands all those things and takes that into account as they move forward in the process.
Thank you. Johan, you're going to start the next question first. How can River Forest attack climate change within its borders?
This is a major concern of mine, and one that I've highlighted already in my opening statement. We are facing long-term climate change effects, particularly since we are close to a major river in the state, the Des Plaines River. And this question of preparing for the long term is a non-negotiable. We've got to do two things. One is recognize that climate change is going to impact our waterways and our forest. And the second thing is that we have to find and implement now plans for 40, 50, 60-year pay off in return of sustainability. Furthermore, I believe that when we think about the potential for environmental catastrophes, now is the time for us to implement that. We all have insurance policies. We need to have insurance policies against catastrophic implications of things like flooding and the hazardous materials in this climate change context.
Thank you. Lisa?
Okay, climate change. We definitely need to do something about it. And I think the village is, for its size, is doing much more than other municipalities in the area. The Sustainability Commission has been around since 2017. The village president signed the 2 different accords aligning that really ladder up to the Paris Accord in terms of eliminating greenhouse gas emissions. The Sustainability Strategic Plan today has a focus on energy, transportation, water, waste, and green ecosystems, as well as education. We are also last year started to measure our impact on greenhouse gas emissions, and our goal is to bring them down. We know we need to do more. The committee is now looking at how we can convert our strategic plan into a climate action plan. We actually have some very strong actions. We have goals from Planet Green that we've been involved in for the 10 years of Planet Green, and we will continue to make great progress.
Thank you. Ken?
I would say with regard to sustainability, we need to continue on the progress. I think the Sustainability Committee does a great job right now, but we can continue on sustainable development, which to me means ensuring that as you develop things and move forward, you're ensuring that you're making whatever you're working on not only valuable to yourself, but in a way that doesn't interfere with future generations. And so I think that what we can do is make sure that we bring together all of our different organizations and governing bodies and work together as a unit for sustainability. We have 7 or so governing bodies, and together that represents 7 different issues, but we can all agree that sustainability is one of the most important things. I think one of the greatest traits of River Forest is its commitment to sustainability. And I think though we could expand that by working with other communities for greater goals. So, if we were to merge some things together, we might be able to accomplish a lot more. So we would be outside the border technically, but working together, we can actually create a more stronger climate change.
Thank you. Rez?
And first of all, I know the village has a sustainability committee, so my hat goes off to Elise as the chair and all of the members of the Sustainability Commission. So, but in addition to what the questions being asked, I know the village is also part of the Greenest Region Compact 2, where we were working with 70 other communities and one of the issues is inclusive of the climate. We're also a member of the Chicago Climate Charter that actually focuses on expanding curbside composting, which I believe we already do. We already, enhancing and improving the pathways relating to River Forest regarding bike friendliness, pedestrian. We already started doing that. We started cleaning up our sidewalks. We still have to do some of that, but we already started a bike path plan that we already approved. And so looking at renewable energy as well is one of the focuses our commission is looking at, and trying to eliminate reduction of carbon footprint, emissions, etc. So again, I'm not the expert, but I know I'm supportive of the commission's work. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa, you're going to get this next question first.
Okay.
Please describe how you see the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee unfolding. And most importantly, what do you see as the end product of the committee? What does the village need from the committee?
I think that the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee is, it's well on its way, meaning that the village has committed to it. The village is now, looking and, casting a wide net to have, kind of involve as many residents as possible. We're committed to the, working with Dominican, and I really hope that we continue to tap into the rich expertise that they have with regard to, diversity, equity, inclusion. They have done an amazing job of, of transforming themselves, and I think that there's a lot that we can learn from them, and it would be crazy not to. In terms of what I think we need to get out of it, I mean, I think that we want to make sure that that River Forest is always a welcoming place. We want to make sure that all of our processes and procedures at the village, across police and everything else, are aligned with diversity, equity, inclusion, with the goal of respecting all people in our community or who visit our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken?
So, as I always say, that's one of my tenets, that diversity brings about excellence. So I think that the committee can actually be very influential on ensuring that River Forest progresses in the correct way. I think that, as we all know, a committee is only as strong as its members. So we need to first ensure that we get a lot of resident participation, so that we can ensure that the diversity is brought to the table. I think that if it is brought to the table, it can be very effective in ensuring that all voices in River Forest are heard, and can be influential on ensuring that, with regard to hiring practices or affordable housing or anything, we just ensure that we've taken a diverse look at everything. So I think it can be a lot if we give it a chance, but I think we need to make sure we have a lot of community engagement to make sure that we get a strong voice from the community now as opposed to later.
Thank you. Rez?
Yes, one of the things that I'm anticipating and hopefully working with this Equity Advisory Group in terms of, first of all, I want to welcome them. I see this as a great opportunity for the village. I also see this group in partnership with our partnership with Dominican University. But focusing back on this advisory group, I do anticipate that what they're going to be looking generally is looking at more intrinsic in terms of the village itself, the village administration, the village practices, policies, to see if there's any barriers that are preventing any type of issues relating to diversity or equity or inclusion. That's generally what we're looking for. But we're also looking at this advisory group to actually come up with ideas of what better practices, policies if the village should be doing, and making recommendations to us as well. So I'm looking forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Johan?
I am excited about this because it turns out that this is the one aspect my 23 years of living in River Forest has underscored the fact that although we have 7% of our population as African American and about 7% being Asian, the visibility of civic participation of diverse ethnic communities within our community is not where we needed to be. And that, in recognizing that we have a ground to make up, is the beginning point. I want to suggest that this committee would in fact be able to implement and advocate for visibility of participation in civic life on the employment registers of the 72 people who are employed by the village, and in terms of our policies beyond the village itself, so that we can be a model for Illinois and the nation.
Thank you. Ken, you're going to start this next question. With the signing of the River Forest and Maywood Covenant, what concrete action steps would you take in the next 1 to 2 years to realize the goals of regional development and investment, expanding supplier diversity, and collaborating on equipment or facilities or services?
Thank you. Good question. So I would say, with regard to the covenant, I did some initial reading up on it, and a lot of the thought was, we have to make sure we get community engagement by both communities. And so I think the first thing I would do is ensure that on the River Forest end, we try to get strong engagement and find out what that by working together, we can accomplish a lot of things. There are different perceptions, I guess, on each community that I think if we came together, we'd find that we have a lot more in common than we do apart. With regard to outstanding committees and things that they have, I think we can learn from as well as what we have. And I also think that if we collaborate on certain issues, like sustainability, for instance, or diversity of thinking, then we can get more accomplished. So I'm excited about that program. And I think that, but it's really, everyone would say we need to make sure that all residents participate in this and on both sides. And so that's the only way we're going to get it accomplished.
Thank you. Rez?
Well, the covenant mentions 4 or 5 items that should be focused on in terms of that. But I do want to say it is not limited to that, but I'm not going to repeat those items, but I am in support of what's listed on that covenant. But in terms of not only what do I plan to do, let me tell you what I'm already working on. For example, as part of the age-friendly committee, one of the things we reached out was working with reaching out to the village of Maywood, but also the village of Forest Park, village of Oak Park, in terms of age-friendly issues, and trying to see how regionally within our villages we can work on how addressing our seniors' needs, for example. And one more specific example is right now the Oak Park Village, the River Forest Village, the Oak Park and River Forest Townships have agreed and a handyman repair service for our seniors. But we're also reaching out to Maywood and we're reaching out to Proviso West in terms of how we can collaborate, because they also have a similar program. Again, we don't want to drown out any program. We want to work together. So we're trying to see how we can work together in that respect. Sorry.
Thank you. Johan?
This is an exciting development, and it came about because there was initiative and vision. I believe that if we can have collaborative agreements of long-standing with the fire and the police departments, with our neighboring villages, then certainly we can have collaborative agreements beyond just emergency services. I'd like to suggest that we start with Maywood, but think in terms of the contiguous villages around us. And we leverage that kind of collaborative agreement for buying power, for mutual grant types of applications and opportunities beyond that. Notice that we can also look at our tourism, not just in terms of architecture, but what if we used the John Prine presence and the Doc Rivers presence as the beginning of a near West suburban Hall of Fame for sports and arts? And I would like to see those kinds of initiatives being part of it.
Thank you. Lisa?
Well, again, I know there were 5 things, and I like Rez, I agree with those 5 things. I think it just makes smart business sense to collaborate with our neighbors. We do have collaborative agreements in place with Elmwood Park, Forest Park, Melrose Park, Oak Park, of various things. 911 center comes to mind. We should be sharing our, kind of pooling our money and sharing our costs as much as we can. We also are facing similar issues. Rez mentioned an aging population. Ken mentioned, sustainability. It doesn't make sense for us to do that independently, to solve those things on our own. We might as well come together. It's more effective and efficient, and it's better brain power, better results. I mean, to start, I think we should start sharing information and expertise. We should drive scale where we can. We should eliminate overlap in services. And we, for example, on sustainability, are already thinking about how we might, reach out to Maywood. We don't want to dictate what they do, but we can certainly share information and begin the dialogue and again, figure out like those beginning opportunities, those beginning steps that lead to great things. Thank you.
Thank you. Rez, you're going to start this next question. It seems the affordable housing plan focused solely on housing for low and moderate income households. Shouldn't it also cover the dwindling supply of housing for middle-class River Foresters?
The answer to that is yes. And what was filed in terms of what the village filed is with the state was to comply with the minimum requirements that the state asked for. But I remember on record, I said, this is just the minimum. We're not stopping here. And we need to, look at doing more in terms of affordable housing and including our middle class as well. So, but a more specific items that I'm working on as part of the age-friendly committee that we're working on, we're looking at housing as one of those issues. We're looking at what our seniors, what options we can provide our seniors, including disabled individuals and including others. I mean, it's not just limited to seniors, there'll be others will benefit from them, but basically looking at other opportunities in terms of our zoning, if we have to make any amendments to our zoning that may be barriers to affordable housing issues, as well as providing other options as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Johan?
I'd rather call affordable housing plan the missing middle housing for the middle class. And we have to remember that it is teachers, nurses, firefighters, police, investment specialists and other artists and so on that are the people who bring the vibrancy to our community. And they are the missing middle class that we need to embrace wholeheartedly. And for that reason, this aspect of the affordable housing is essential. I would like to reiterate the notion that aging in place also means age-friendly environments for sidewalks, for parks, and for mobility issues. Modernizing our zoning codes would be important. Also, I think we should allow density bonuses for multiple family dwellings and add developers incentives to profit for having percentages of their new developments have accommodating this plan.
Thank you. Lisa?
I agree with Rez in that I think that this plan is for specifically for like the middle class. We do need to get to the 10%. That plan is the beginning of a journey. A plan, once you put it in writing, by definition, needs to be updated. At least that's my experience. I think that we need to make sure that our teachers, our police, our fire can live in the village in which they work. I think that that helps them, kind of feel a part of us as opposed to us just being, kind of their employer. I do think that, allowing, again, we have now, the plan allows for ADUs, which I think is important. I like the fact of integrated supportive housing for residents. I think that's something that we can do more of. I also would like to see, and it's starting to happen, and so this is also going to happen, I think, on its own, is there's a lot of the larger homes that are becoming that you have multi-generational housing. So you might have the grandparents and the parents and the children in there. So I think it's not any, like, to get to this, let's make housing available for everybody in the village. It's going to be a lot of different things working together.
Thank you. Ken?
I also agree with pretty much everything that was said. I think that for some reason we need to get over the issue of the name affordable housing meaning just one thing. I mean, it just means making a community affordable. And I don't believe that that's a negative thing. I think that, how can we say we will allow our teachers to teach our kids, but we won't allow them to live with us? So we need to make sure that we're open to providing affordability for all that need it. And so the problem that we all know is that River Forest is approximately 2.5 square miles. So we only have a small amount of degree to work with. but we need to come up with out of the box thinking. So there were about 6 tenets that were proposed. One was the ADUs, like Lisa mentioned, and we need to continue down that path to not only get to the 10%, we're almost there, we're at 9 and 9.5 or so right now. We need to go above that, equal and excel it, and ensure that we're creating new ways to provide for affordable housing, because that's the only way that River Forest is going to continue as a strong community.
Thank you. Excuse me. Johan, you're going to start with this next question, or the next question. What role should volunteer committees play in helping make final village decisions?
Volunteer committees are the heartbeat of a society, and River Forest is the ideal place for these volunteer committees. You know, it's fascinating that volunteer committees have always been the unsung heroes of moving the agenda of village advancement and growth and sustainability and business opportunities. And now I want to add a growing element of visible diversity into the village stores. I find it so interesting that we have never really explored volunteer committees beyond the standing committees that are part of the board. I'd rather suggest that we should really find ways in which the service organizations, Elks, Rotarians, and others be incentivized to collaborate with area neighboring villages so that they might have opportunities for a volunteer test preparation and educational tutoring opportunities as well.
Thank you. Lisa?
Gosh, volunteerism. Oak Park and River Forest has over 55 different like not-for-profits that are all powered by volunteers. The Village of River Forest, the president is a volunteer position. The trustees are truly a volunteer position. The commissions are volunteer commissions. This whole area is what it is because of our volunteers. I think that volunteerism allows the village to tap into a lot of the experts that are in this town. I mean, I can speak to marketing and how we can improve outreach to our residents. Rez has a different perspective. Ken has a different perspective, and we bring that collective expertise to the table, which allows the village to do more. Quite frankly, without having to pay for it, so that keeps our costs low. It also allows for the residents to have skin in the game with regard to the village and make it the home that they want, the village that they want, the place that they want to raise their kids and age in place. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken?
Peggy, I'm going to ask if you don't mind reading that question one more time for me, please.
What role should volunteer committees play in helping make final village decisions?
I think that, as I continue to say, we're only as strong as the group that is created. And so with the right community engagement, we can help refine issues so that we can come about good decision making. And I think that if we encourage strong volunteer diverse thinking in the beginning, it'll help produce an effective result. I think that the issue, if I was to say an issue, or that there seems to be both sides on, is the issue of allowing individuals time to get their point across. Well, we need to come up with a standardized process, and everyone needs to be aware of the process. And part of that is at the very beginning, in my opinion, to have that volunteer group help focus the issue so that we've taken that into consideration. And if the issue is focused and it proceeds down the line of governorship, we will ensure that everyone had an opportunity to get it across, but also we can effectively and efficiently govern for the board.
Thank you. Rez?
From my perspective, I know as a trustee, I have appreciated immensely the 14 advisory boards and commissions that the village has. I mean, it's, first of all, I'm so excited that we have that many interested individuals who actually volunteer and give their service. And when I say volunteer, give their service, it is with full efforts from my observations. And I have taken each of their recommendations very seriously. I usually try to give deference to them because of the hard work they've done and the recommendations they make. But I will continue to support our commissions and advisory boards. I welcome them. Thank you.
Thank you. I think this may be the last question before closing statements. What do you see, or do you think body cam should be mandatory for our police? And if so, how would you finance that?
Peggy, who's that for?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It starts with Lisa. My bad.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Sorry.
Yes, I think that body cams are becoming the norm across the United States, and that should be no different in our village. In terms of paying for them, that's a big thing. I believe that there are, like, I would hope that there would be grants that we could tap into, and, you know, perhaps work with the state and federal government to, to find the funds, because I can't imagine that they're, cheap to have. And my understanding is the police officers would welcome, having body cam. I think it helps, it just helps, kind of everybody involved when they're, when there's a situation when we need to review the film. So, that's all I have on this topic. Thank you very much.
Ken, you're
Okay,
next.
so, yeah, so with regard to body cams, I think it's you need to do a cost benefit analysis, and you'll find that the benefit of body cams outweigh the costs. And so I'm in strong favor of body cams, just to avoid to actually increase transparency, as well as to make some of our residents feel safe about what's going on. And so I can say that I'm in favor of them. And with regard to financing, I would argue that I am aware of some funding that's available for body cams on the federal level, and we need to just take the time to investigate. That's also another thing that we can work with several communities on to decrease the payment or our portion of it. So in order to create like a group share payment to ensure that all surrounding communities have that access as well.
Thank you. Rez?
Well, I am in favor of the body cams, but I am going to have to step back a little bit because I feel that I have to say this. The state already passed a law that's going to require the body cams. But irrespective of that, I still would be in support of them. I do think there's a benefit, not only particularly within the last year or so, regarding incidences and the issues of credibility, et cetera. Now, I'm in full support of our police department and fire department. However, I do think that the body cams would also be in their best, or the village's best interest, so that we can avoid any issues of transparency, et cetera, relating to that. Regarding financing, I do think, yes, there are, and I'd be supportive of any federal, state, local assistance in terms of financing that. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I would say the village would finance that as well, at minimum. So thank you.
Thank you. Johan?
The central question is, why body cams? Body cams are the invisible eyes on the execution of public service in delivering quality work. That is that our police are themselves not just public servants, but they are people who represent us. In a country and in a region where we find an disordinate amount of incarceration and unequal treatment of people based on race, this question is an absolute must. But it's not about cameras, it's about the orientation of the heart. If a policeman enters a situation under fear of wanting to resort to this powerful way of overreacting, then the body camera is not the answer only, but it is the invisible eye that calls the action to something far more charitable to start with than an aggressive fear posture.
Thank you. All right, we're going to start with closing statements. You may finish a thought from maybe another question if you like, or just whatever words you'd like to close with. And Ken, you're going to start first.
Okay. So first of all, thank you very much, Peggy, and the rest of the League of Women Voters for having me today. I just want to conclude by saying that, I want to make sure you're aware of what my 3 tenets are. One is transparency. I want to approach everything with transparency and let you know where I am at all times. And I want to be that guy that you can always ask a question. I'm always available, and I will always look into something for the residents. With regard to inclusion, I believe strongly, and like I say many times, inclusivity of thought. I believe that if we can bring about the diverse ideas of all communities, we can produce stronger results. And then I also, lastly, consider results that are a very important issue that we need to ensure that we're doing and bringing about for our residents. Having lived here for 15 years, I love what River Forest has to offer. I love where it's going. And I want to be a humble servant of that. I believe that as a trustee, your job is to be a liaison between the residents and the governing body. And so I want to do that, and I promise to do that if I'm elected, and I humbly once again ask for your vote.
Thank you. Rez?
Well, first of all, I want to thank Peggy, Megan, the League of Women Voters, the Public Library for providing this great opportunity. I also want to thank all the candidates and more importantly as well, all of your immediate spouses, significant others, because we can't do this by ourselves without the support of our families. But I do want to say that I hope I get the support of all of you. I love working for River Forest and community. I want to continue doing that, so I hope I'll get your support for a second term. I'd like to focus in on health and safety of all of our residents as well in River Forest. I'm also like to focus as well as in dealing with the DEI efforts that are coming around the corner. I think that's very important for this next coming term, and also continue to work on maintaining the village's financial stability and resources so that we can continue to help our residents, particularly like during the COVID period, because of our good financial budget, we were able to help others and not even increase our tax levy for that matter. So, and provide some other financial supports to our residents and our businesses. So thank you.
Thank you. Johan?
Thank you, League of Women Voters, for hosting this, for my fellow trustee candidates, and for you, my audience. Thank you so much for giving your time to inform you. If you found any aspect of my platform that resonates with you, please join our team and spread the word and tell your friends and neighbors. Our website is johanbase.com. And our flyers will be coming, or at least our postcards will be coming this week in the mail. Don't throw them away, even if you don't agree with me. Put them on your refrigerator as just a reminder about the election coming up. But I would like for you to consider writing an opinion piece on whichever candidate you prefer, you resonate with strongly. And if you want to make a donation, you can go to our website. And in addition, I am most grateful that I can live in a village for 23 years and look at its next 23 with greater vision, with integrity, and with my advocacy. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Lisa?
Well, thank you, Peggy. Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, League of Women Voters. Thank you to the River Forest Library. Thank you to all of, to Ken and Rez and Johan and everybody that is like watching this on a lovely afternoon. It's much appreciated. Again, my name is Lisa Gillis and I am asking for your vote for trustee. The election is on April 6th and I hope I can count on your vote. I believe I am highly qualified for this, to be a village trustee. I've my professional life, my volunteer life, my time working on a sustainability commission is all kind of led me here. I'm a good listener. I'm a true collaborator. I'm a hard worker. I'm very passionate. I got to tell you, like those that know me and know me well know that when I commit to something, I give it my all. I give it my heart, give it my soul. And I think that working with the other trustees, working with the town administration, working with the residents, we can do amazing things together. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you all you candidates for participating and thank you for your very thoughtful answers during this forum. We also thank you for stepping up to serve your community. You can view this recorded forum probably in a couple of days on the River Forest Library website. And just a last reminder of the last River Forest candidate forums will be March 18th for the library and park board races. Again, you can submit questions for those races to our email address at lwv1924@gmail.com. And you can also see the schedule on our website at lwvoprf.org. Thanks again to Megan and Leslie for another job well done, and go outside and enjoy the sun. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye-bye.